Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Hanging on a Monday. I'm Jay. We don't have Brian tonight, but we do have Buddy with us. We have John C. from Boston.
Hey.
We've got DJ Tom, of course. Got Kevin down there. And myself. And of course, our show tonight is brought to you by DJ Event Planner. All of our sponsors are down here in the description. We'd appreciate if you click on them, see what they have to offer you, services and different things that are only going to help your DJ business. So, I had one of my big first weddings of the season this past Friday. Buddy had one on Saturday. And tonight's topic is going to be about challenges at events that you can't control. You know, you can control some things, but this is more in line with our events and what you can't control. So for my wedding, I was at a place called the Ultimate Skybox in San Diego. The Ultimate Skybox is the 15th floor of an apartment building or condo building, I believe, right behind Petco Park where the Padres play. And there was a game. My wedding was 4 to 10, and the game was roughly 6:30 to about 9:40, 9:30ish. So there's a balcony off the room where my wedding was, and it was a close game. It was San Diego Padres against Tampa Bay Rays, and the Rays won 1-0. So it was a very close, good, competitive game, and probably half the guests stayed on the patio for most of the night watching the game. Now, being that I used to work on the bay in San Diego, I always would tell DJs that worked for me, understand something. You want them to dance and stay inside the yacht, but it's a distraction to go out and see an aircraft carrier 200 feet away, to go under the Coronado Bay Bridge, to see the Hotel Del, to see Navy SEALs training. These are those challenges that you can't control, but you just have to go in with the right attitude and the understanding that your job is still the same, but don't take it personally. Like I understood during the toast from the two dads, I laughed along with everyone else when everyone, 45,000 people in a stadium, yelled right in the middle of the toast, and the dads laughed. So these are those things that just enhance the experience, in my opinion, but you just understand going into it. You can't change everything. You can only affect what you're doing and do it to the best of your ability, but don't get caught up in the drama of, well, what am I going to, you're not going to do anything. And if you call it out, if you say, hey, folks, get off the patio, come on back in here and dance, you're saying that you're fighting the game. So don't do that. That was my Friday night. One quick thing, though, if I work there again, because I haven't worked there before, the elevator situation, you have to get on the elevator, push the door close button, wait a little bit, and then hit the floor. I'm not an elevator guy. I don't like elevators sometimes. It was a horror show. Not a fan of it. So that will come into play when pricing for my next event there. That I'll remember, and that I'll control a little bit.
What was it? Was it a scary haunted house type freight elevator, or
it was a regular elevator, but they had put like cardboard around it, and they had clamps holding it top and bottom. I mean, it looked like something that when it opened, they should have been lined in plastic, and that's where they'd shoot you and then bring the bodies downstairs. And when I got on it, I was on it for about 20 seconds, and it wouldn't move. And I started to panic. I was like, nope, I don't need this. I'll walk down the stairs. I'll carry the gear piece by piece. I don't care. But luckily, the bartender came out, because I went in and I said, hey, bro, I'm not a fan of elevators. And this one's totally, he goes, I got you. Do this. Hit these two buttons and this button, you're good. And it was perfect. No problems for the rest of the night. But just that initial, like, make sure the door is completely closed before you push the button. I'm like,
yeah, I shouldn't have to worry about that stuff.
No, I don't want to do that. Well, here's the thing. There's 4 banks of elevators in this place. 3 of the banks have no buttons. So if you request to get on, if you don't have a key, like a plastic hotel room key to get in and out of the building, you have to go to security. And they tell you, please take elevator bank A. And they push a button to tell it what floor to take you to. So it won't stop. It won't do anything else. Now, luckily, by law, you're not allowed to lock people into a structure. So getting out, if you hit, get me back to the first floor, they all have to respond. It's like Vegas. You need your room key to get to your floor. But if I'm your bro and I come up, we have a few beers. If I go back to the elevators, for safety. You can't make me have a room key to get out of the elevator and get back downstairs.
Right. Security purposes. So over at Price Waterhouse, the elevator, you say what floor you want to go to, and it'll say, take elevator 7. And you walk over, there's nothing to hit, nothing to touch. You get in, it takes you to the 3rd floor. It just knows, but getting out, once you're on the floor, you can get out, but you can't go up from where you were because you don't have clearance.
No,
you have to be where you're at, but that's all you get.
Oh, yeah. When I said, hey, I need to go upstairs, can I take a different elevator? He goes, take bank A. I walk on A, the door closes, I look at the wall. There's door closed, door open, emergency. There's nothing else on the wall. I'm like, whoa. Like, no.
Time machine. Yeah.
And again, somebody watching this might say, what's the big deal? If you've ever been, I'm not a fan of tight little, not a big elevator.
Speaking of elevators, Jay, I had a event, this is going back many years, down in the city, downtown Chicago, and it's a freight elevator run by an elevator operator. So they're the ones that operate everything. And you have to go in, tell them you want, and the elevator opens out up on, there's doors on the street level, opens out onto the sidewalk, and you got to roll your stuff into the elevator. And if you want to go up or down, and it doesn't matter what floor, you tell them where you're going. And I told them I'm going to the ballroom. They are the ones that operate the elevator. You can't operate the elevator without them. So that's another hurdle you run into some buildings. And I just saw another thing on the news, one of the old buildings downtown Chicago, an art building. They are actually getting rid of the manual elevators. The guy actually has a handle to pull back and forth and what floor and stuff like that. And basically he's on, off, and doing stuff. It's 100 and some odd year old elevator. And it's like, the technology, the smart elevator, I'm not a fan for that. I'm not going to press every button in the elevator, but if I want to go to the floor below for something, like let's say there's ice there, I need to pick ice up on the way going up to the floor above or something, I want to be able to do that. I don't want to go anywhere I'm not supposed to, but it just, to me, kind of like creeps me out a little bit, the fact that you hit this button and you ain't touch the button over there. You got to go to this certain elevator, and it's going to take you to this floor, and that's it. And I understand the security side behind it, but it's like, I'm not a fan of that. That sounds creepy.
I don't want to tell you where I was because I don't want to get anyone in trouble. I'll just say I was in a major U.S. city last year, and the same thing. We had a freight elevator that was operated, had the crank on it and everything. And the gentleman that ran it worked in the building for the company that runs the building. And we got done with our event around 10, and he made the comment, I'm off work at 11. I said, we should probably be done. Might be like 10 minutes late if that's cool. No, it's not cool. He goes, I'm done at 11. I said, oh. He goes, you can wait till the morning, or you can pay $1,500. And I looked at him and I'm like, you're kidding. He goes, no, and you don't pay me. You pay the company. So we had to pull the old, hey, check it out, and drop several $100s to get 10 minutes of elevator use after 11. We didn't have a choice.
We're just spending the night.
That was the whole thing. That was the issue we had was he said, it's not me. It's the company. It starts with a U and then has like an I and an O and an N and,
yes,
different letters and not in the exact order. So if there's a chat bot, it's not going to pick me up. But he said, that's the rules. And I said, I completely understand. I said, would this work though? He goes, I don't know, man. I'm like, really? And like maybe 10 minutes.
If he hasn't said yes yet, you haven't quite hit the number.
We got to that number just to show you.
Wow.
Yeah. And we got 10 minutes. And when we got off the elevator with the last thing, the door slammed behind us and there was no possible way to get back in the building or do anything. It was like, you're done. I'm like, seriously? It's like, yeah, you're done. I'm like, okay, thank you. Yeah, it was scary, but it's just like Buddy said, it's that old fashioned with the hand crank and the 2 doors you have to close, like the wooden slats. First, this big steel doors that crush, and then the other one. Mm-hmm. We had one in last summer at DJX. When we went to go to the club, I got on the elevator with like 8 people. It wouldn't run. The guy's like, it'll probably start in a minute. I'm like, dude, I don't have a minute. I'll just open a door.
That's
I'll
what
meet you
Jeff
there.
Finette says, right? If it's that close, I ain't going.
No, I was like, so I came up with some lame excuse in front of everyone. I said, oh, you know what? Actually, if we're not moving, can you open? I forgot to grab something. I'll meet you guys there. I'm admitting in front of everyone that was a complete lie. I just didn't want to sit in this box of death. Sorry to side rail to elevator phobia.
Yeah, right.
Folks.
Welcome to elevator phobia.
I wonder if Kevin or Tom has some elevator stories they can share real quick for weddings.
Oh yeah, we did an event down in L.A. in one of those major skyscrapers, and it felt like we had to have a person running the deal, and we had to be out like at 1 o'clock in the morning. If we went past that, we would have to pay the elevator people and everything. But what felt funny is to hit that button and all of a sudden that force, you're going like that. And you're going,
no, the worst is, and LA does this. I'll tell you, the W Hotel does this. You load in through the back lobby to the freight elevator, but it only goes up 2 floors. Then you have to get off the elevator and go a good 200 feet down a hallway to the next elevator that takes you up to the roof. And I just remember we had road cases, and we thought, we'll just load them in from the street, because they said, the freight elevator is right near the rear entrance. You're fine. Yeah, it is. The problem is that you then have to maneuver hallways through like food and beverage to get to the next one around corners, and then take that one up. And it's the one food and beverage uses. So, of course, there's a line to get on it. I'm like, man, we didn't plan the timing out well for here. I'm derailing the story, but maybe next week or the week after, we should do just horror load-in, load-out weddings.
It seems that they're not really thinking for the greater good of the people coming and going. They design what fits in the building. Like, we've got State Street, Boston, and you do get into the elevator, and you're going to go to the 33rd floor. When those doors open, you're in a kitchen. It's like, where's the ballroom? It's like, and if your cart is wider than 14 and a half inches on either side, you're knocking stuff over, because the lane they give you is specific. They're like, don't put your speakers down flat like that. You're never going to get through. And you get up there, you're like, I'm glad I packed really narrow, because. And then it's a half a mile walk to the ballroom. It's like,
the other thing, John, I'm sure Jay's run into it and Tom's run into it. I'm sure Kevin's run into it too, is some of these venues, they have you come through the kitchen.
Oh.
And there's one venue I deal 100%. With, I got to come through the kitchen, and the doorway to go out into the loading dock area is right where they wash all the dishes. So when you're pulling your cart through, they have all this food junk over the floor, and they have this water over the floor. And every time we go there, I always have towels on my van to wipe the wheels off the carts. And it's just one of the things that it's a hard time. It's an easy venue to get in and out, but it's a hard time to go there and say, man, I can't wait to clean my cart again, because the fact that I go through at the end of the night through this, and then coming through during the daytime, when you're loading in, you're going past all this food. They have all these food on racks and salads to go into coolers and stuff. And it's like, I could just reach out and grab something off a plate, eat it if I wouldn't. I'm a fat guy. Don't do that stuff. That's just gross and stuff. But it's like, if someone like walking and coughing or something like that, it just, to me, if as an owner of a venue, I think that's one of the worst things ever, is to have your vendors, it'd be a band, be a DJ, but whatever, come in through a back door like that and have them come through that. And you're talking about challenges at weddings. It's always those venues like that. It creates a lot of challenges at weddings when you go in and you feel like you're almost like second class sometimes, that, hey, you know what, this venue, it's a great venue to work at, but man, it's like they don't treat you really nice.
Before you tell about your wedding on Saturday, I just want to make a definitive statement. My personal almost 30 years of doing this experience is, and I believe I'm correct 100% of the time, the more expensive and nicer the venue, the further, more dirty, more dangerous load-in you run into. The nicest hotels in San Diego, you are loading in a mile away on a different street, on a different block, through a loading dock. And in most cases where I am, there's a ramp up to the loading dock. So it's at such an angle that you're better off putting your cart on the dock and then lifting stuff over your head, putting it on the dock, going up the ramp, loading the cart. It's a horror show because they're used to trucks coming in with, powered lifts.
Dock height trucks, dock height trucks.
So they can just back right in, so they're fine. But you roll in with the van or a pickup or an SUV, you're getting your workout in big time. But it's always the nicest venues. You get a crappy little Holiday Inn. Oh, ballroom is in the back. There's an exit door. Just go through there. That's where your table is. It's like, thank you.
Right, the door is at your setup. Like, wow, this lightning strikes once.
Oh, you're going to the W or the Ritz or something like that. They want you. Wait, we've got a venue where when you come out of the ballroom, I've measured it just to give them a hard time. It's 50 feet to the front door where valet is. 50 feet. You have to go a quarter of a mile behind the property, go down to a tunnel that's the loading dock, then walk almost the distance of the building in, then take the elevators up, and then go back in to the bend. And I'm like, hey guys, I've been on 2 elevators and gone through the loading dock. At the end of the night, is it possible just to walk through the lobby? Because it's 50 feet, literally from the door of the ballroom because everything's on the sides and the ballroom's in the middle. Yeah, we can't do that. And I think the last time I worked there, I just loaded my car, brought the van out front, and just pushed it right through. And I went for, forgiveness, not permission. Because you learn. So I'm sorry to monopolize things. Buddy, I know you had some challenges. You had a wedding on Saturday. What happened?
Very, very, very lovely couple, but the only downside is that when you have someone who wants stuff in a language that you don't understand, you can't read or speak, it always creates challenges because when you get music sometimes written in that language, and when you can't read it and you see 2 songs and they look similar in wording, and you have to go up to the one half of the couple and say, can you either translate it, or do you have someone who can come over and translate this to help me? And I had a couple songs like that I'm like, okay, I want to double check and see what they were. And, they came over and they said, okay, it's this. Okay, wrote down real quickly on my paperwork so I knew where it was at on the file, because I could see the artist name, but I couldn't see the title. The title was in another language. And that's one of the things that I love doing mixed weddings. I love doing different languages and stuff like that. It's always interesting, the culture of all these people from around the world that come here to Chicago. The downside is that I wanted to get things done right and making sure you put the right song at the right time, the right place. And these weren't like critical songs like a first dance. They were just dance floor songs, but one was a faster one and one was a slower one. And I want to know what was more impactful for that side of the family. And she was very adamant upon saying, I want this song for my side of the family. I wanted to make sure to take that and make sure that they enjoyed it. Plus also it invited other people who are not of that culture to come on the dance floor.
Yeah, no, I think I told you before we went on air, because this happens to me too, and I'm sure it happens to you. You get that. Do you have any experience with this? Put in religion, put in nationality, put in regional area of the world. And I always say the same thing. Can you send me 3 songs? And they'll send me 3 YouTube videos. I'll go in and then find those 3 songs on some other source. I'll put them in Serato. I'll get the BPM. And then I'll do like a 30, 60-second mix of their song and a traditional song. So if theirs is 105, I might mix it with Usher, Yeah. And I'll send those files back. And 99% of the time, that gets oh my God, this is perfect. You're hired. Great. My only request at that point is when you write down what the songs are, if you send me actual song files, be really clear. Dance, cocktail, dinner. But then it's on me, because I got burned at a wedding. I think I told you. I took all my files they sent me in an email that said dance, dinner, cocktail, whatever. When I loaded them onto my hard drive and put them in Serato, Serato read the ID3 tags, which was in Arabic. So when I got to the wedding and opened them, I'm like, and I had to get the best man to read them and then tell me which is which. I've got to come up with a better system next time it happens, but it's the same thing as you did, buddy. You don't want to burn them by going, oh, yeah, you're fine, whatever, I'll just do this. So, yeah, it's fun, but you want to make sure it goes correctly. Definitely on something like that. John, what's going on with you and challenges from weddings that have just made you go, I just got to adapt?
Just getting into the season. Last year wrapped up, everything was pretty smooth. We did a lot of them up in Gloucester and Danversport and like the big areas for load-in. Pretty good sized productions. We're bringing extra subs, those type weddings. So what we have going on so far for this year looks to be pretty much the same. I'm excited about getting started for the season. You guys already get a couple under your belt, which is pretty good for the end of April by this point where we are, 2025. Looking forward to it. We're mostly at the same venues, but there are going to be a couple of new ones. And of course, the site inspection can eliminate a lot of your surprises. And, if you get a fear of elevators, don't take gigs on the 15th floor, I guess.
You just have to adapt. I mean, there was every other vendor did it. I couldn't be the one that goes, yeah, I'm really sorry, guys. Now that I'm here, I'm not going to take the elevator.
I'm actually doing one at Lenox this season, and I remember the first time Bill took me into Lenox, and you have to go down 2 flights of stairs to get in because you're loading in the basement. You build your cart there. I open up the rock and roller cart. He goes, no. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you got to make it smaller. It's not going to fit in the elevator. So you actually have to go smaller than
Lenox and Harvard Square?
Lenox on Boylston, downtown.
On Boylston, okay. Yeah. I'm thinking of...
right at the marathon finish line. But that's a tricky place. And then you're up there, and then it's a beautiful room, big dome and everything else. But I just remember thinking, like, wow, I hope every place we go isn't this difficult. Beautiful venue, awesome staff, great people. It's not the easiest load-in. I've waited upwards to 10 minutes for the freight elevator because it's a 12-story hotel. And the elevator door opens, and there's catering with the cart going to the basement. I'm like, I'll get the next one. And it happens. And then there's, dishes going up the room service to 10. And you're like, I'll get the next one.
It turns into a thing. I think I didn't mention this, but I know I mentioned you have to get on and push the door close button in order to engage the elevator, which translates to when you get off the elevator on the 15th floor, until someone physically gets on it and takes it to the basement or the loading dock, it doesn't move. You can't ring it. You can't have it come down. It only works if you push the button inside. So you can't even get on it, push one, and jump off it. That was the other challenge was Flores went up ahead of me, and I'm like, and security's there. I'm like, yeah, who do I, yeah, you got to wait. What do you mean? We can't control that elevator. Somebody physically has to be on it. So it's sort of like the freights. Like if catering is unloading on the 10th floor, they're not worried about you.
No.
They got their own stuff to do. Where your housekeeping gets on,
So looking forward to a great season, and the usual load-ins. They give you a ramp, and it says on the website, oh, there's a ramp to load in. Beautiful. You get there, it's a cobblestone ramp. A very uneven, bumpy cobblestone ramp. You go, this isn't better. This isn't good. What are they doing?
1774. Here you go. Good luck getting up this ramp. I've still got the small wheels on the front of my Rock and Roll 12. I every year say the same thing. I got to buy the bigger wheels because I'm going to hit grass, dirt, sand,
rubbery wheels. Yep.
I need the bigger ones.
And it's not going to sink or get hung up. There you go.
No. Kevin, what's up with you with challenges for weddings? What do you got for us?
Well, I've had a few in the past. One of the things I try to do to eliminate as many as I can is ask a lot of questions before the event. So I know if there is elevators, escalators, a crane that's going to pick me up and put me in there, So ask more questions. If I don't get a lot of feedback there, I'll ask other associates that have been there. If I don't get anything from that, I will reach out to the venue or do a site inspection, as John said. Some of the other challenges I try to deal with, Buddy has mentioned in the past, is take extra stuff. So if I have more sound that I need that I didn't expect to, or there's a room around the corner, they got more guests than they thought, I got spares, and I was like, okay, yep, I got cords, I got cables, I got speakers, we're good to go. In the past, a couple of challenges I've had is I had one wedding where it was the reception and we had I guess it was a heart attack. Unfortunately, everything worked out okay, so that's not that unfortunate.
That's the unfortunate part.
That was optimal. But we hadn't got through any of the formalities or anything, so we plunged through. It just wasn't really fun. It wasn't a fun event. It was more subdued because of what happened and brought the room down.
Did you play like Heart of Rock and Roll, Sheer Heart Attack?
I think we were just into cocktail music. We weren't even
Total Eclipse of the Heart. Yeah.
Total Eclipse of the Heart. Yeah.
Yeah, we could have went that route, but no. I mean,
Turn on your heart light. Yeah.
But the other event,
I would have played Don Johnson.
Yeah. The other event we had is we had the ceremony, and I was helping out another DJ that I've worked with in the past, and he was responsible for the equipment, but I know his equipment. So I knew to bring everything I needed of mine to back up his. Well, we got his set up, and it was a ceremony out on the driving range tee box area. And everything was going good for the 30 minutes of sitting music. It's so remote that they had a generator that was with a 100, 200-foot cable, which probably didn't help, off in the distance behind some trees. Well, about 15 minutes into it, his system goes down. Mine's still playing on the laptop, but we got no music coming through his system. It was I said, well, what's going on? Is it your laptop? I unplugged. No, it's still playing. It's something on yours. So I carry a little Bluetooth speaker. It's in the Ryobi line. Maybe I shouldn't advertise it, but it's something I owned. I went out and got it, Bluetooth my laptop to that, and I was able to get that music started back up, them get down the aisle. The only thing I couldn't have is the officiant mic'd, and I went up and told him, and it's no problem. I'm loud and noisy, so
perfect.
Bride didn't even know, because at the end of the night, well, not at the end of the night, then we're inside for the reception, and everything's going great, having a great time. We're opening up the dance floor, and her brother, one of the groomsmen, had a little bit to drink. Is a younger boy, but in the past he has had some seizures. So this was a nice, warm, toasty day, and guess what happened? We're on the dance floor, about 3 songs in, all of a sudden he's on the floor pulsing. So unfortunately, that event ended up getting through to the end, but we wrapped up there. So but she didn't even realize there was any issues with the music because, like I said, it's always best to try to keep within reason and what you can pack extra and ask lots of questions.
100%. 100%. No, you gotta be prepared. We're gonna close things out hitting up my boy DJ Tom. Tom, what's the big challenge you've had at a wedding?
Not having power.
That's a big one.
We did an event down in the beach area, and the venue was across the street on PCH, and we were told that we would have a generator. There was no generator, so we had to run a 150-foot extension cord across PCH.
Across PCH.
And it worked fine. Just going pray that the wire didn't get yanked out, but we tied it off on both ends, and it worked fine. And you couldn't do that.
That's so awesome.
No. So it got
a major highway.
No.
So you suspended the cable above the highway, ran the cable across.
Couldn't do it.
You looked across.
No, you ran it on the ground.
Oh wow!
Did you tape it down?
It sounds like he tied it off on each end.
Just one big piece of gaffer tape.
Yeah.
You can't get out there long enough to tape it down, Kevin.
No.
PCH is very busy.
I guarantee you, it sure whipped out on the road real fast.
I'm
I'm sure people in California, just put your hand up and they'll tell them to stop. They'll stop for you.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah. Of course they will. By the way, I got to remark on something as we get ready to close out that Kevin said. Kevin mentioned cranes. Have you ever had to deal with a crane for a load-in, Kevin?
No, I just, I'm always thinking outside the box.
No. And it's only because I have.
Oh.
There's an aircraft carrier in San Diego called the Midway, and they do events on it. And before COVID, I was on there probably once every couple months. And if you remember in the movie Top Gun, there's a section where they keep the jets inside and they bring them out on this huge elevator plate that looks like a big crane. And that's where we had to load the catering, the DJ, the florist, everything, chairs, everything got loaded on that. And you had to be on it at a certain time because then they would lift it to be head level with the flight deck. And if you didn't make it, you were waiting like sometimes 45 minutes because it was a production. It was big enough for 2 planes to go up. So we could do this all night. I guarantee we all have stories of those great moments in time. We'll definitely have to revisit this again. DJ Event Planner, thank you so much for sponsorship of the show. Check them in the description of the show. This should be up on YouTube shortly. You got any questions for us? You can always put them in the comments. And I want to thank John Young and everybody for giving us this opportunity to chit-chat a little bit about weddings and challenges here on Hanging on Mondays. So until we see you guys again.